Hello everybody, we have the set 9 preview, so we are going to go over all the system changes, and there are a lot of them, so I want to go through each one individually and give you my thoughts on each and every one of them. So we'll be going over the new portals, all the legends, how to use them, who they're for, all the traits, and then the champions, augments, which they changed 90% of, along with my thoughts on each and every change along the way. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, so definitely buckle up for that. This is out on the PvE right now, so you can play it whenever, and then we'll come out with some comps sometime this weekend. But starting out with the portals are one of the new mechanics of the set, and essentially at the start of the game 3 portals appear with special effects, and the special effects are down here, but you essentially walk over one of these little portals, and then each player gets 1 vote, and then the portal is randomly selected based on how many votes are in each portal. So if there are more votes for one portal, there's a higher chance it goes to that one. And if there are fewer votes for one of them, there's a lower chance. But it's kind of like pick your poison, but everyone kind of picks. So it'd be very interesting to see what strategies come up there. Maybe you purposely pick the one everyone hates, because eventually over the long term of the set, you get more practice on the ones that people don't like, and then you may have a slight advantage over them. But overall, these don't do anything that crazy. For example, the first one, Scuttle Puddle, every PvE round is replaced by Scuttle Crabs that give extra loot, so everyone faces the same thing. And if you obviously like a lot of items, pick this one. Yumi's Zoom Zone, player combats last 20 seconds instead of 30 before overtime starts. This one I think is good for faster comps, like comps that don't really need to scale into like a stall comp, because the early overtime might help you kill things before people scale up during the fight. Bandle Cafeteria, gain a spatula on 2-1 at shopping start. Units equipped with a spatula, emblem, or tactician's crown feed a portal snack to their closest ally, granting them 7 permanent health. Units will feed 1 snacks per item they have equipped. So this is pretty much just stacking someone permanently. This is probably great for like people who want to reroll maybe a 1-cost unit because they'll have them the whole game. Or maybe you get an early 3-cost unit that you want to kind of play throughout the entirety of the game, and then you could start stacking them immediately. Pretty interesting concept, because the 7 permanent health, it definitely does add up, but it's not anything like game breaking where you probably could play and transition out of whatever you're stacking later on. Vandal City, Yordle Portals. Also one thing to note, there's like a region and then city name. So region just means it's like the color of the circle, and then the name is like the exact effect. So if we scroll down over here, you'll see exactly which ones are available, and you can hover over them to see what effects that they have, which is pretty much the descriptions that we're reading right now. But let's go back up to where we were before. We have Yordle Passes, or Yordle Portals. On the 1st and 5th round of each stage, get a free high tier unit. The unit's tier increases with game time. I think this is great for flexers because you get a high tier unit. You can kind of like go into whatever if you use it to its full effect. House Light Shield from Demacia. Gain a powerful Crown of Demacia on 2-1. If the wearer dies, you instantly lose the fight. And obviously, if you have a strong 2-star, this is very, very good. Demacia Petricite Forest. All units are 15% larger and 150 bonus health. I'm not 100% sure on what the 15% larger exactly means. I've heard some theories from some people. I've been asking some players because the PvE has been down, so not many people have actually been able to play on it quite yet. But some people say like you could get hit by more abilities, or some people even say your abilities are larger, so you could hit other people easier too. Freljord Hearthhome, on 4-5, gain a consumable masterwork upgrade that lets you upgrade 1 equipped item into its radiant version. I think this is going to be really good if you get a really nice item early game, and you have to know like stat wise which of the radiant items are actually good, because there are a ton of radiant items that are just much better than their original versions, and then there's some that are just like a little bit better. So you have to kind of know which ones are which, and we'll find that out once they finalize all the numbers when they actually release a set. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that. Freljord Orn's Forge, randomly on either 2-5 or 3-5, gain an Orn Anvil. I think this is just pretty decent. It's just portable forge for everyone. But I'm thinking that a lot of the new wacky things that are happening right now in this new set are going to give like a lot more items. So I think that gives a lot more importance to like secondary carries or secondary tanks, which I actually like a lot. I kind of miss like the original cybernetic trait, which kind of like was the first attempt at like spreading out your items. But I think adding a ton of items definitely helps that as well, because it's kind of silly when the game's really just about 2 units on your team of like typically 8 characters, which is just your main tank and your main carry. And hopefully with more items, it kind of like spreads the love a little bit. Ionia, the Dreaming Pool. At the start of each stage, gain a champ that really fits your team. So I'm guessing it looks at your synergies and then gives you a tailored champion. Godwillow's Grove. A spot on your bench becomes the grove. The unit in it contributes their trait as though they're in your army. So this is great for trait bots. It's essentially a tactician's crown because it gives you kind of like a fake +1 on your board. Placidium Library, gain a consumable on 3/5 that when you place it on a unit, opens up an armory with an emblem of each of their traits. So you could definitely tailor this one, and it just really helps out those like vertical traits that kind of pop up in the set. Now we're on to Noxus. Nox Crea. Every time you take an augment, a random arena hex appears. Units on an arena hex gain an item that they can use. So this reminds me of set 2 elements, where you could kind of just have like an Inferno hex that you could put a unit on and they get like a bonus, or like the Ocean hex, things like that. So type in the comments the number 2 if you played in set 2 and you remember that mechanic. Immortal Bastion on 2/1, gain a placeable battle flag that grants 20% attack speed and a 10% max health shield to units that start combat adjacent to it. So I think you have to be careful of shrouds on this one, because everyone's going to be stacking their units around a certain character. And in this one, items like Randuin Sanctum, which is like one of the Ornn items, probably is going to be really, really powerful. And keep in mind, you may have noticed like a lot of these have numbers attached to them. These numbers are all subject to change based on testing, on the PvE, based on like just balancing in general. So just because you see a number here doesn't mean it's actually going to stay there, but it's just kind of like an estimate of their power level. Now onto Piltover. I think this is one of my favorite regions in the League of Legends lore or whatever, because Arcane was based on here, and it's just really cool technology. I love technology, so that's kind of the one I like a lot. The other favorite region, maybe, I don't know, maybe like Bandle City, because I just like Yordles, you know? But all augments offered this game will be prismatic, so now you know when that happens. Piltover the University, the first augment round will be a prismatic augment, and then Stillwater Hold. No augments will be offered this game. This should spice things up a lot. And it's funny how 2 of the Piltovers are like heavy augments, and then one of them is just like a trade-off. It's like no augments, and it's like the complete opposite. Shadow Isle Thresh's Sanctum. When any champion dies, collect their soul. Every 40 souls you collect, gain loot. So obviously lots of loot, as we talked about before. So probably like secondary carries, more gold, things like that. Shadow Isle's Yorick's Graveyard. Every time a player dies, all players open an armory containing 4 of the eliminated player's items. So I wonder if this is the same item for every player, or if it's different for every player. But overall, I think it is pretty interesting. What I mean by that is, do all players see the same 4 items, or are they different? Probably the same ones. Shurima Warlord's Palace. The 4/7 NPC round is replaced by an armory of treasure that can be rerolled infinitely for 2 gold per reroll. So this is kind of like the dragon loot one that we had in, I believe it was set 7. So you could just keep re-rolling for whatever loot you want. Shurima Shifting Sands. If you don't have an item on your bench at the start of each round, get one. So you just get a ton of items, and it really encourages slamming. Shuriman Bazaar. Component carousels have 2 components on them instead of 1. So it's kind of like the glitched out carousels that we saw in the previous set. Targan, the Summit. Starting at stage 2, gain a lesser champion duplicator at the start of each stage, and on stage 5 and beyond, gain a champion duplicator instead. So we may see a lot of 3-star 4 costs, maybe even some 3-star legendaries from this. Targon Prime. Whenever you reach 40 HP, gain a blessing from the Targonian gods. So this is like the Stimmy that we saw in set 4, I believe. Maris Omegnum. Hope I'm saying that correctly. On 2/5 and 4/5, gain a Tactician's Crown. So you'll have to know how to expand your comps really well. And this is where like game knowledge comes in a lot. So one thing I forgot to mention at the start of the video is that general game knowledge will be very important this set, and more specific game knowledge I think is less important, because there are a lot more scenarios that happen right now. And because of that, you can't perfect one type of play because of different maps such as this one, right? Let's say you know 2 comps or something like that, and you know who to add for those 2 comps on this one, but you can't really expect to know it for like every single comp. Whereas like in previous sets, you kind of could play every single comp no matter what your augments were. Obviously augments do influence it a little bit, but you never had such wacky situations where you get like +2 units from 2 Tactician's Crowns, plus maybe you get like additional trait bonuses from your augments. So it's kind of like doubling up on getting more units on your board. And those situations didn't really happen in previous sets of TFT. Void Unstable Rift. Gain an unstable completed item that pops off and transforms into a random item every round. I think this concept's really cool. It reminds me of Gadgettine items. The Lavender Sea. Starting on 2/1 after every carousel and PvE round, a Void Symbiote infects a new board hex. The hex grants 20% damage reduction if it's in the first 2 rows, or 20% increased damage if it's in the back 2 rows. I really like the front to back stuff that's happening in this set. There aren't really like the typical assassins that we saw in the past. I don't want to spoil too much in the traits, but we'll get into it soon. There is like a fake assassin trait that is available still, or like the Hackerim. Void, the Rupture, travel to a random location that is not currently shown. Zon, the Sump, there is no interest this game. Instead, starting on 2-1, gain 3 gold every round. So this is just as the Hustler augment, but for everybody. Glask Industries, every time you build a completed item, gain 3 gold. And then Ecliptic Vaults, every time you select an augment, gain 4 gold per augment you have. So you just get like a tiny bit more econ. This one probably doesn't change that much. But overall should be very interesting. Keep in mind, like, even if everyone goes on the green portal, for example, I think you still have a chance for getting yellow and blue. It just reduces it by a lot. Legends. So Legends is super interesting. You could now have like a chosen character that you go into TFT with before the game even starts. So if you have a certain playstyle you like, I certainly do. And after we go through all the legends, I want you all to guess which one my favorite legend will be, along with what yours is. But before you get into the game, there are 15 legends you could choose from, and they all are free. So no pay to win here. TFT, shout out to them. They are one of the few games that are actually truly free to play. Even League of Legends is not truly free to play because you still need to play to unlock all the characters. But TFT, right from the get-go, you have the same exact chance to win as someone who's been playing 1,000 games and spent $10,000 on TFT. But you can choose a legend to get a guaranteed augment choice at every stage. And if you want to force a certain playstyle, not necessarily a comp, but a certain playstyle, you definitely can do that now. So here are some of them here. But going into them, Aurelion Soul, we're going to start with that one just alphabetically. Great for the hyper levelers, I think. So how this is set up is that I have stage 2-1, 3-2, and 4-2, and then silver, gold, prismatic on the side here. So in the silver one, at 2-1 for Aurelion Soul, you get cutting corners. Leveling up costs 2 XP less. For the gold one on 2-1, patient study 2. After player combat, gain 2 XP if you won or 4 XP if you lost. You can now reach level 10, so it's kind of like the level up augment. And then they have the regular level up. When you buy experience points, you gain an additional 11. You can now reach level 10 also. I wonder if you get both of them, if you could reach level 11. That'd be kind of crazy. I don't even know if the game lasts that long for you to be able to get there. Silver on 3-2, knowledge download 1, gain 12 experience. And then 3-2 the gold one, gain 22, and then gain 36 for the prismatic. Pretty simple there. And then 4-2, it pays to learn 1, gain 10 XP and 10 gold. It pays to learn 2, gain 16 XP and 16 gold, and then 24 and 24 gold and XP down here. So if you like leveling, this is definitely the one for you. This is going to be great for the comps that uses a lot of 4 costs and 5 comps. So if that's your playstyle, Aurelion Soul, definitely good for you there. Bard, this is for econ and items, so it's like not so much as power level-y as the Asol because you get items instead, but getting the econ's nice. So you can use this for reroll if you want to reroll, or use the econ to kind of level up with. So on stage 2-1, we have Caretaker's Ally. You get a random 2-star 3-cost unit on level 6. I think this is absolutely insane. You probably just like win really hard in stage 3. So you could probably lose streak on stage 2, and then on stage 3, level up to level 6 on 3-1, and then just bams, wipe everyone with that. The gold one, Caretaker's Favor, gain 6 at level 6, gain 2 components. At level 8, gain 3 more. So if you level up a lot, you get like a lot of stuff. Caretaker's Chosen, at level 5 and level 9, gain a Radiant. Oh, holy cow. This one is absolutely bonkers. If you compare this augment to Radiant Relics. So Radiant Relics before, it just gives you a choice of like, I believe 5 Radiant items at stage 2-1, and like that's it, or whatever stage you took it in. But this one, it gives you 2 of them at level 5. Like you reach level 5 on stage like 2-5 typically, so you just go like 3 rounds without them, and then you just get another one at level 9, which I think is a little bonkers. So this is extremely powerful. They might have to like revisit that later on. But oh, one thing I definitely forgot to mention. Holy cow, why am I not mentioning this? So you notice how you get guaranteed augments if you pick a legend. So essentially, like on stage 2-1, this one will always be your left choice if it's a silver one. This one will always be one of your choices if it's a gold one, and then this one will always be a prismatic choice if it's a prismatic. But because the augments are guaranteed, every single legend augment is theoretically slightly weaker than all the other augments. So whether that remains true, we'll see, because obviously game balance is a thing. It's going to be very difficult to balance, I think. But theoretically, they are all slightly weaker than the regular augments. But back into Bard. So Small Forge, gain a component anvil and 8 gold. At 3-2 for gold, medium forge, gain a completed item anvil and 12 gold. And then last one, gain an Ornn item anvil and a component item anvil as well. So that's just tons of items there. The next one up is stage 4-2, teaming up 1, gain a Zeke's Herald and 5 gold, gain a Zeke's Herald and 20 gold, and then gain 2 Zeke's Herald and 15 gold. That's a lot of Zeke's Heralds. Do you even need that many or want that many? That should be interesting to see. I guess that's kind of cool though, because you get a bunch of items early on in stage 2 and stage 3, and then the last one you get a support item, so you don't really lose out on anything. But it definitely favors the attack speed and attack damage comps. Maybe they could switch it up. Maybe they give you a choice of Zeke's Herald or Chalice of Power if they need to buff it so that you could play both AD and AP comps. I think that would be even cooler. Now onto Caitlyn. So I think it's great for fast aiding. The description for Caitlyn, it's a little bit different, but personally for me, I think Caitlyn's kind of good for that because you get a bunch of upgrades in the early game, so you could kind of win streak with that, and then later on you gain experience and rolls. So how I think it's going to work, you win streak in the early game, then you power level up to level 8, and then use the free rerolls on stage 4-2 in order to stabilize your team. That's how I think it's going to work. But I think most people think Caitlyn is more for like rerolling or something like that. But I think it's great for just like win streaking and stabilizing and things like that. But 1, 2, 3, gain a random 2-star 1 cost and a random 1-star 2 and 3 costs. I think this one is absolutely bonkers. It's super, super strong. Great for flexing. Gold Star is Born. The first tier 1 unit and tier 2 unit you buy are upgraded to 2-star. There's no way I'm reading this correctly. Wow. The Caitlyn ones seem a lot better than the other ones, at least in my opinion. Starter kit, gain a random 4 cost, an item they can use, and a 2-star 1 cost that shares a trait with them. What? Gain the 4 cost again at the start of the next 2 state. Okay, Caitlyn, this is probably going to get changed. So if you can play this now, I definitely encourage you to try this in the next couple of days, because in my mind at least, this seems very strong. Onto 3-2, knowledge download, gain 12 experience, gain 22 experience, gain 36 experience, and then rolling for days 10, 15, and 25 rerolls. And these also carry over, so you don't have to use them on that exact stage. You could like kind of save them up if you need to take 1 more turn for leveling or 2 more turns for leveling or however many you need. Onto the next one, we have Draven. Great for building econ, then stabilizing hard in stage 4. That's what I wrote, and you'll see in just a minute. So Spoils of War. When you kill an enemy, there's a 25% chance to drop booty. This is the 2-1 silver augment. In gold, it's 50%, and then prismatic, it's when you kill a unit, there's 45% to drop amazing booty. Who doesn't like booty, you know? Balance budget, this is going to be in stage 3-2 for the silver one. For the next 4 rounds, you gain 4 gold. Balance budget 2, you gain 6 gold, and then balance budget 3, you gain 10 gold. Rolling for days, this is the same one as Caitlyn, so same concept there. The rolls just carry over. So the difference between Draven and Caitlyn is, for Caitlyn, you just get a strong early game automatically. For Draven, you have to make the strong early game yourself, but if you do, you get a lot of booty. Then in stage 3-2, they're kind of similar because like gold is pretty much the same as experience. I think the Draven one is a little bit better to the Caitlyn one, but we shall see. It depends if you need the power now or later, but should be very interesting. And then they can both stabilize in stage 4. Ezreal, so items, and then he's kind of like a cybernetic clone. So Buried Treasures is the 2-1 silver one. At the start of the next 2 rounds, gain a random component. I don't think this one's that great. Buried Treasures 2, at the start of the next 3 rounds, gain a random component. The Prismatic one is at the start of the next 5 rounds, gain a component anvil. I think the Prismatic one's really good. I think the gold and silver one, a little left to be desired, or whatever the saying is. Tiny Grab Bag, this is in stage 3. Gain a random component, 8 gold, and an item remover. Pretty standard stuff. Seems like a pretty regular augment. Big Grab Bag 2. Gain 2 random components, 12 gold, and a Reforger. And then Giant Grab Bag. Gain 3 random components, 18 gold, and a lesser duplicator. I think the Prismatic for this one is on stage 2 is really good, but the stage 3 one I think could be a little bit better. I think these other 2 are just pretty average if you compare to other augments at least, so nothing too crazy there. On to stage 4, Well-Earned Comfort 1. Your champs gain 60 HP for each item equipped, and then 90, and then 120, and 10% attack speed. So they're favoring attack speed so far in the ones we saw. So the Bard gives Zeke's Herald, the Ezreal gives attack speed, but it's pretty much just cybernetic over there. Now onto Lee Sin. I can't wait to see the AP ones. But Lee Sin, I think he's great for rerolling. Then after you hit everything, you can level up really quickly. So you know how you like doing that in reroll comps? You reroll at level 5 for your 3-star 1-cost units, and then you get like 2 of them to the 3-star, right? And then after that, you just don't really roll at all. You just level up all the way to level 8 to add in extra synergies or whatever, and Lee Sin is perfect for that. So silver, 2-1, on a roll. Whenever you start up a champion, gain a free reroll. Pretty interesting. I don't think it's that great, but yeah, I think this one, maybe you need to get gold as well, because you don't really start up champions that often. So I don't think you get that much gold from this. I think they're much better silver augments. But again, the numbers are subject to change. Trade sector, gain a free shop refresh each round. And then high-end trade sector, gain 1 additional gold each round. When you level up, gain free shop refreshes equal to your level. So wow, you just get a ton of rerolls. What's interesting is that I don't think high-end sector is good for rerolling, but the other two, the silver and gold one, are great for rerolling. But high-end sector is great for like just playing regular, I think. You just get a lot of rolls. Onto the stage 3 ones. Top deck 1, gain 5 gold and a lesser duplicator, gain 13 gold and a lesser duplicator, and then gain 18 gold and a champ duplicator. You definitely want the gold or silver ones if you're re-rolling, but if it's like a full prismatic game, then like going this one into this one should be very interesting. For stage 4, money, gain 12 gold now and 12 more gold in 4 rounds. That doesn't seem that great, does it? So you just get 24 gold. The next one is 18-18. The next one's 25-25. Even this one, I don't really like that much. If you compare it to Windfall, I think Windfall gave you like 45 gold, Windfall plus plus or whatever it was called. And I think 45 gold now is more better than 25 gold now and then 25 later. But again, it's supposed to be weaker than the regular augments because it's a legend one, so you get it guaranteed. But that's what I think the best comparison is. But let's move on into Master Yi. He's great at buffing your team. So we went through a lot of econ ones, and a lot of consumables, a lot of item ones, but Master Yi is just straight up making your team strong. So I think he's actually going to be really good because you might get too many items because of the way that the portals work. So you get items from portals, and then you get a lot of items from your augments sometimes. So if you just get great buffs on your units, your main carry unit is just going to be a lot stronger if you have the Master Yi, and you'll see why in just a second. So silver at 2-1, your team gains 5% attack speed. Each round increases by 0.5. So they just get stronger and stronger as the game goes on. Pumping up 2, 5%, and then increase by 1%, and then pump up 3. You gain 10% and then increase by 2% each round. You just get a lot of attack speed. Probably going to be great for a lot of the heavy AD comps. In stage 3, Battle Ready 1, your team deals 5% more damage and takes 5% less damage. Who doesn't like that? 8%, 8%, and then 12%, 12% for the golden prismatic. Gotta go fast. Your team generates 10% more mana and moves 20% faster, and then 20% more mana and 30% faster, and then 30 and 40. I don't know how to actually judge this because I don't think we've had augments like this that were similar to this, but I think if you just want to power up your team, let's say you get one of the item portals, Master Yi is going to be great for you because you're going to have enough items for all your main carries, and then you just want to buff them up after that. Nothing too complicated there. Ornn, he just gives you a ton of items. So speaking of items, silver one in the early game, after 7-player combats, gain an Ornn item anvil. So if you want to lose streak and then stabilize hard later, when is 7-player combat? So you get the first one on stage 3-2, and then you get the next one on stage like 4-7. That one's really wild. Whoa. That seems like it's going to be really late because you're going to not have a lot of health. Okay, so the gold one. Portable Forge, just gain a Ornn item anvil, same as before. Living Forge for the prismatic, so those are pretty standard. We've seen these many times before. And then on stage 3, Small Forge, gain a component anvil and 8 gold. Gain a component anvil and 12 gold. Gain an Ornn item anvil and a component anvil as well. On stage 4, job's done. Gain 2 component anvils. Job well done. Okay, thank you so much. Gain a completed item anvil and a component anvil, and then masterful job. Gain an Ornn item anvil and a completed item anvil. So no promotions there for a masterful job, but you do get a bunch of items. The difference between Ornn and some of the other item legends that we've seen so far is the fact that he has a lot of anvils. So you get a lot more choice, I think, which is pretty interesting because you could kind of tailor your team more. I think he can fit a little better in like forcing comps rather than the other ones, which just gives random components or random items. That's better for flexing. So Pengu, lots of health for building up econ, then stabilize with items later. People say this is like the beginner Pengu, or at least like Riot says it is in like their little description, I believe. Great for just getting a lot of health. So Tiny Titans, your tactician gains 30 health and grows larger and has 130 max health. Metabolic Accelerator, move faster, heal 2 health after every PvP round. And then Tiniest Titan, your tactician is small and heals fast. Heals 2 health after a PvP round and grants 2 gold per round. Very interesting. Is this strong enough to be a prismatic? Maybe, probably. On to the next one, we have Item Grab Bag. So just gain a full item. Grab Bag 2, gain a full item and a random component and gain 5 gold. And then Item Grab Bag 3, gain 2 full random items and 8 gold. Okay, that is a lot of random. So definitely want to flex, which is kind of weird because you sack your early game with Tiny Titans Metabolic. So it's kind of hard to flex. Maybe this is good for fast aiding, I think. So you build up a big econ in the early game, you get a random item, you play around it, and then onto the final stage 4, final grab bag 1, gain a random component, 15 gold, and a reforger. So you can use the components that you get here. The next one's gain 2 components, 18 gold, and a remover. Irv's grab bag, gain 2 item components, a champ duplicator, and a spatula. So you could use these items here in stage 3 to know what you're going to play and roll down for at level 8. And then once you get to stage 4 too, you can use the extra gold you get to like roll down even more. You could also gain 2 components to build a support item, tank item, damage item, whatever you want. And I think that's how your team's actually going to be completed. So I actually don't think Pengu is a beginner legend. I think he's actually a little more flex ones, which takes a little more thinking because you need to know which direction to go into, like starting from stage 3. And then you need to be able to execute that roll down on stage 4. If not, you'll lose a lot of HP. I think this one might be my favorite one so far. I've read all of them before, so this isn't like my first time reading them. Reading them again, I think Pengu's pretty interesting. Poro is just all random, so there's no really any bonus to Poro. I wonder if Poro might get like +2 gold or something like that, or whatever gold to make it kind of balance. It reminds me of the very old Dota days when Dota first came out on like Warcraft 3. If you did all random as your champion, I think you got like extra gold. And it's same thing in Legion TD. Legion TD, if you do like the Chaos version or whatever it's called, you just get bonus gold, but everything's random. You don't get anything like tailored. So I wonder if they will balance this or if it's supposed to be weaker than everything else, just in case you're too lazy to pick a legend. Next up, we have Tahm Kench, lots and lots of gold. So AFK, you cannot perform actions for the next 3 rounds. Afterwards, gain 18 gold. Rich get richer, gain 12 gold. Your max interest increases 7. So same ones we saw before. Hedge fund, gain 20 gold. You have no interest cap. This one is very interesting. Is that actually good? There's going to be like a lot of greed here. Can you get to like 1,000 gold? Is 1,000 gold even possible? I've gotten to 100 gold a ton of time, but at 100 gold, you gain 10 gold of interest per round. Like, you might be able to get to 1,000. Oh, no, you have to spend it at some point, right? All right. What is this even good for? Like fast 8ing? Fast 9ing? Probably fast 9ing. Balance budget 1 for the next 4 rounds, gain 4 gold. Balance budget 2, gain 6 gold. And then balance budget 3, gain 10 gold. Money, gain 12 gold now. And okay, we already saw these from a previous one, but wow. Let's compare these two. So Tahm Kench and Lee Sin has money. And then the person who has balance budget is Draven. I think getting the guaranteed money, like Draven is like a high roll guy, right? So we compared Draven and Caitlyn already. Caitlyn's like guaranteed good early game. Draven, you have to high roll. Tahm Kench is kind of on the other side of the coin where he's like guaranteed econ. I think I like Tahm Kench more. I do like AFK. It's probably one of my favorite augments. Maybe I force AFK every single game. All right, Twisted Fate's even more high roll than Draven because he's just random everything. So Pandora's items, gain a random component. I guess it's anti-random because it's like you can randomize your items into something better, but you do have to get lucky. It's like rolling the dice every turn. Pandora's items 2, it's gain 2 components and then the same effect as before. And then Pandora's Radiant Box, gain 1 random Radiant item. At the start of each round, items on your bench are randomized. Okay. I like this Prismatic a lot. Pandora's items is a little boring, but Prismatic, Pandora's Radiant Box, I like that. Wow. Okay. Stage 3, item grab bag 1, item grab bag 2, and then item grab bag 3, same ones we saw before, and then teaming up. This is the same as the Bard one, so you just get a bunch of Zeeks and some gold. I think this is fair because, again, you get like perfect items in the early game, and in the mid game you get a random one that you could still kind of randomize later because you most likely have Pandora's items. What I think is going to happen is that you get one of the Twisted Fate augments in stage 2, and then in stage 3, you use one of the regular augments. You don't use Twisted Fate's augments because you probably have enough items already and you have perfect items. And then later on, you just get the support item, like why not? Earth. So great for emblems and trait-based comps because Earth is the original holder of this spatula. So silver one in the early game is branching out, gain a random emblem and reforger. Ancient Archives 1, gain a ton of traits and 4 gold. Ancient Archives 2, gain 2 tomes of traits and 8 gold. So these were like welcome from before. Tiny Grab Bag, this is in stage 3, gain a random component, 8 gold, and an item remover. Is that good? Random component, 8 gold. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, this is actually much better than item grab bag if we compare those two. I'd rather have a component and 8 gold and a remover than a random full item for sure. Not even close comparison. They probably need a buff item grab bag if it happens in stage 3. I think item grab bag's only good in stage 2. Maybe if they reverse these two. If you had the item grab bag in stage 2 and then Pandora's in stage 3, I think that would be a little bit better. Because item grab bag gets weaker as the game goes on, and it was really only good in stage 2 in previous sets. There's also a final grab bag for Earth, which is gain a random component, 15 gold, and a reforger. Gain 2 random components, 18 gold, and an item remover. And then the Prismatic, gain 2 item components, a champion duplicator, and a spatula. This one I think is extremely powerful. Earth's ones aren't that interesting. The only tome ones you get are in the beginning, which is 2 ancient archive choices. But you could just like get a random emblem. Wow. No, I don't like Earth. Maybe like have one of the stage 3 or 4 give another ancient archives. I feel like that would be a little bit better. I don't like only getting one of them. The whole point of Earth is to go all in on something, right? And I don't feel like that's actually the case. So Vigar, lots of damage. How do you say this name? I've heard Vagar, I've heard Vigar, I've heard Vigar. How do you say it? Just type it down in the chat below. But silver in stage 2, Jeweled Lotus 1, combat start, your strongest unit gains 15% crit chance and their spells can critically strike. This only affects 1 unit? Interesting. How do they define strongest? Your spells can critically strike, gain 15% critical strike chance, so it's the same as the old one. And then Jeweled Lotus 3, your spells can critically strike, gain 40% crit strike chance. For stage 3, Tiny Power 1, your team gains 10% AD, AP, and AS. Oh, so he's similar to Master Yi in that he just buffs your team, but it's more for casters rather than for attack damage or attack speed. Tiny Power, your team gains 15 AD, AP, and AS, and then 25% for Prismatic. And then for stage 4, Partial Ascension. After 15 seconds, your team deals 33% more damage. Ascension, 45%. And then Final Ascension, your team deals 20% more damage. And after 15 seconds, triple this. I'm pretty excited for Final Ascension. That seems the most fun there. Vladimir, I think he's great for stall comps. Your team gains 60 HP plus 2 more for each missing little legend HP. So this one, as you get weaker, he likes to play dangerously. You get more HP on your units. Transfusion 2, it's 70 HP plus 4 more for each missing health. And then Transfusion 3, 120 and 6. And then for the stage 3 augments, the silver one, Battle Ready 1, your team deals 5% more and takes 5% less, 8%, 8%, and then 12%, 12%. And then you have the Ascensions down here too. So maybe if you want to run like a stall comp, I'm thinking it could be pretty nice because stall comps really like Ascension and you're guaranteed to get it. And you like hopefully can survive with Battle Ready. I'm not sure about Transfusion. We'll have to see about that, but it does make your team a little more tanky later on in the game. But Legends, very interesting. Again, let me know who you think my favorite is. I know I kind of spoiled it, but before I said Pengu, which one did you think it was? Because I think I just fell in love with Pengu after reading it again. But before it was something else. But also let me know who you are excited to play. And if you even like the Legends thing. I personally love the Legends ones. I'm not just saying that. You all know I'm not afraid to criticize. So whenever I do compliment something, it's like a genuine compliment, you know? I think they should go even further. Maybe like have some other bonus like guaranteed for your team, like a very small one, in addition to the tailored augment choices. I think that'd be even cooler. But onto the traits. Finally, we're getting into the meat of the thing. I didn't realize there's so much new in the set that we just started the traits and we haven't even gotten into the champions yet. And they're like 60 some champions, but wow. All right, let's just get right into it because I don't want to take up too much time. But Bastion, this is like the typical defense trait. Bastion champions gain armor and MR, and this is increased by 100% for the first 10 seconds of combat. So this one's interesting because normally you get stuff like Defender, which only gives armor, or you get stuff like Aegis, which only gives magic resistance. But this time, you get both with Bastion. So Maokai, Poppy, Kassadin, Taric, Shen, and Cassante. Bruiser, So the health bruisers are back. Gain 100 health, bruisers get even more. So bruisers, brawlers, kind of the same trait, but they switch it up just to make things different. It's a reprint, but I like it. So a lot of people, before we get into a lot of the traits, because a lot of times I'll say it's a reprint, I don't mind reprints. A lot of people complain about reprints, but like, what more can they do? There are only so many stats in the game. You can't just invent really complicated ones just to make it different, because that's kind of like just making a difference when you don't really need one. Some traits, they're just good as is. I think switching from brawler to bruiser every set, perfectly fine, because it does the health in a different way, but it's not overly complicated that you need to read like 10 pages to know what the trait does, because there certainly are some traits where you need to read a whole 45-page essay in order to fully understand what they do. But I think for like bruiser, challengers, a reprint, perfectly fine. Like challengers are great because the first part's easy. You just gain bonus attack speed, and then they dash to a new target when someone dies and then increase their attack speed bonus. All you really need to know is that it's just an attack speed trait, and then if you want to push the trait to the next level, you read the second part where you try to abuse a dash and maybe the attack speed bonus. That's why stuff like Thrill of the Hunt, really good on challengers, but I don't know if Thrill of the Hunt is still in this game. We'll find out later when we go through the augments. But the champions for this is Aurelia, Samira, Warwick, Callista, Kaisa, and Yasuo. Oh, Kaisa's a 4-cost. Very interesting. I don't think she's been a 4-cost before. Same with Yasuo. Again, it's a reprint, but I kind of like it, and great with fast augments such as Thrill of the Hunt. Darken. So when Aatrox or the holder of the Darkened Blade dies, the Darkened Blade is equipped to the nearest ally champion, granting them 500 health and 20% Omnivamp. It's a legendary, so that's just Aatrox. And then after being equipped to a champion for 4 seconds, Aatrox will revive upon their death instead. Wait, that seems like giga broken. Aatrox just never dies or something? All right, so that seems that seems a little too strong. We'll see what happens later. Oh, I wonder if they're bringing threats back or a similar concept, because Aatrox was a threat in the previous set. Deadeye, innate bonus range, and then every 3 seconds, Deadeyes attack the enemies with the highest percent health and deals bonus damage. So this is Jhin, Ashe, Akshan, Aphelios, and Urgot. I made a mistake here. I just realized that it's highest health and not lowest health. So I thought they focused the lowest health unit, but it's actually the highest health. I thought it was good for lose streaking because he'll focus the lowest health unit, but it's actually horrible because you focus the highest health unit. So we'll fix that right there. So what should this be good for? You probably want Giant Slayer on this. If you're going to attack the highest health person, Giant Slayer should be pretty good. Or maybe highest health might be sometimes like their backliner. So maybe you don't want the Giant Slayer because you might just tap their carry in the back after everyone's lower health because it's highest percent health, not highest total health. Very interesting to see what the positioning will be like against this Deadeye comp. Onto the next one, we have Demacia. During your planning phase, your strongest Demacians become elite. Equipped a random radiant item for the next combat. Elites grant armor and MR to themselves and adjacent allies, but this does not stack. So Kayle, Poppy, Galio, Garen, Sona, Jarvan, and Lux. You'll probably get like a bad item sometimes, but if it's a radiant item, who really cares, you know? And you get more and more elites as the game goes. Wow, you can get 5 radiant items? No way. At least the bonus doesn't stack, but 5 radiant items, that's a lot of power. Even if you get a bad item, that's still really good. You get so much stats from it. All right, Empress. When Bel'Veth kills an enemy, they leave behind Void Coral and she will consume. The first coral increases her max health by 50%, while further coral heals her 20% max health. When a Void Coral is consumed, she deals 10% max health as magic damage to enemies within 2 hexes. So it's like the Bel'Veth stacking concept. She is our Empress. You know, some people say they have their queen, but some people have their Empress. Freljord, after 5 seconds, an ice storm strikes a battlefield. I wonder if they get a buff on the Freljord map. Probably not. But enemies take a percentage of their max health as true damage and gain debuffs for 15 seconds. So this is like burning and like extra effects such as reducing armor, reducing MR, and increasing their mana for their next cast depending on what the trait level is. That's going to be Ashe, Lissandra, and Sejuani. I think it's going to be a great support trait. Gunner, it's like just a stacking AD trait. Gunner champions attack, they gain bonus attack damage up to 8 stacks, so they just get, so probably stack a Rage Blade on them. Tristana, Jinx, Jace, Zeri, Senna. Invoker, allies restore mana every 3 seconds. Cassiopeia, Galio, Soraka, Karma, Lissandra, Shen. Great reprint. Invokers was pretty fun, but they're doing it in a little bit of a different way, I think. I think Invoker was something else before. I think it was like auto-attacking gains mana or something like that. Maybe I'm confusing it with something else. I just remember Ivern being super strong when he was an Invoker. You could just get tons of casts from this, I would imagine. Ionia, every 4 seconds, your strongest Ionians are enlightened. Sounds like a neckbeard or something like that. To their spirit form and gain 20 mana. So this is like the weeb trait of the set, and they become enlightened. Very interesting. What did Riot Games mean by that? Each Ionian has a unique bonus within their ability, which doubles when in spirit form. So that's going to be Aurelia, Jhin, Set, Zed, Karma, Shen, Yasuo, and Ahri. Ooh, Ahri's 5 cost. Does she hit the whole board? Probably. I want to become enlightened. Juggernaut. Juggernaut champions take less damage as their health decreases. I think the fights will be awesome to watch with this because you'll see some clutch comebacks, especially when combined with a future trait that we'll get into in just a bit. But Set, Warwick, Darius, Garen, Nasus, and Aatrox. Multicaster. Multicasters cast their abilities multiple times. Wow, who would have thought? Bonus casts have 50% reduced effectiveness. And then you can get 1 or 2 casts. That's going to be Talia, Teemo, Sona, and Vel'Koz. And I actually don't like multiple casts. I feel like the boring plus AP is cooler, or just like getting mana from Invoker if you want to do like a caster synergy or a caster trait. I don't know why I don't like multicast. I just don't. Is Ludin still in the game? Maybe they could be good with Ludin's Echo. Noxious. Noxious units gain health, ability power, and attack damage. This increases by 10% for each different opponent that you have either conquered in combat or is dead. So I guess if you beat someone, you kind of get the bonus. Cassio, Samira. Wait, Cassio's Noxian? I did not know that. I knew Samira was. Kled, Swain, Darius, Katarina, and Sion. Now that I'm rereading this, is this opponents or units? I might have to redo the text here. Okay, we'll find out in a bit. I need to play with it a little more to fully understand. But Piltover, gain a T-Hex. Every time you lose a player combat, the T-Hex gains charges. Winning converts the charges to power for the T-Hex. You may also sell the T-Hex if it has any power, resetting the T-Hex and converting its power to loot. So T-Hex is kind of like Hackerim. You could think of it that way. It's just like a unit that you could turn into a T-Hex. And then it just gains power over time if you keep it. But that's going to be Orianna, Vi, Echo, Jace, Heimerdinger. And each loss counts as 2 losses. Winning grants bonus loot. Okay. So it's kind of like a loot one as well if you get to 6. 6 seems a little difficult though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need a +1 augment for it. Redeemer. Whenever an ally gains a shield, grant them 7% stacking attack speed for the rest of combat. So I think this is Locket time. It's just Senna. You know what I miss? I miss set 2, Senna and Lucian. I think that was set 2 at least because they had really cool synergy together. And I feel like they should bring it back. Rogue. This is the assassin trait of the set. It's the new era of assassins. I'm kind of like pitching it like that. But the first time rogues fall below 50% health, they briefly become untargetable and dash towards an enemy within 4 hexes, preferring backliner. So it's like a delayed assassins. And then they deal like max health damage at 4 rogue. But that's going to be Viego, Zed, Echo, and Katarina. I wonder what Viego's ability will be, because his ultimate is the one I think of whenever I think of Viego, but they might switch it up because he's a 1 cost now. Shadow Isles. After dealing or receiving damage 8 times, Shadow Isles gain a shield for 8 seconds and become spectral for the rest of combat. Spectral units may gain mana every second. It's going to be Maokai, Viego, Kalista, Gwen, and Senna. And I wonder what the best way to optimize this is, because you need to become spectral before you get the bonuses. So do you frontline everyone? Is that how it's going to work? Is there a way to damage your own unit? That should be pretty interesting to think about. Shurima. Every 4 seconds, Shurimians heal 7% max health. After 8 seconds, select Shurimians. I don't know how to pronounce this. Whatever it is. Ascend and gain 20% max health and 50% attack speed. I think this is going to be the stall comp of the set. So this could be good with like Vladimir maybe. Maybe like Cassiopeia reroll with Vladimir Legend. That'd be kind of cool. Is it Shuriman? Oh, it's Shuriman. I think I said Shuriman before, so okay, that's on me. Slayers gain 15% Omnivamp. Additionally, Slayers deal bonus damage doubled against units with 60% health. I think this is a reprint. Their Slayers happened before, but I think they did AoE attacks or something like that, so it's a little bit different, but same name. Kayle, Kled, Zed, Gwen, and Aatrox. I think this is just like with Juggernaut combined. That should be really interesting for like comeback fights, because you just like take less damage as you get low, but then you deal more damage as they get low. Maybe you could do some cool emblem stuff like that, which could like be pretty interesting. Sorcerers help kill an enemy. They trigger an arcane shock that deals 1% of the enemy's maximum health to other enemies. Sorcerers also gain bonus AP. So you shock them after you kill someone. That's going to be Malzahar, Ori, Swain, Taric, Vel'Koz, Lux, and Ahri. And I'm down for bringing back set 1 Sorks. I think they're cool. They gained mana on hit or something like that, and then I think they gained AP after that. The ASOLs in set 1 just hit so hard. Really cool stuff. Strategist, combat start, allies in the front 2 rows gain a shield for 8 seconds. Allies in the back 2 rows gain ability power. This is just the front to back. So if you're a grand strategist like Swain, this is going to be for you. Swain, Teemo, Azir, and Jarvan. So without assassins being prevalent, I think this is a really, really good synergy, right? Because you just get tanks on your tankiness and then damage on your damage dealers. Like, what else do you want in a front to back fight? That's exactly what you want. And I think this set will be all about front to back. Because like assassins don't exist, right? Targon, your healing and shielding is increased. Soraka, Taric, and Aphelios, again, is it locking time? I think so. I really like Locket. I think it's a cool item. So definitely interesting to see. Techno Genius, gain a placeable Apex turret with 3 upgrade slots. Upgrades to your Apex turrets will show up in your shop for 6 gold, and you may only have 1 Apex turret. I'm glad that they're bringing the shop mechanic back. I kind of miss it from before. That's going to be Heimerdinger, just as legendary. Void, gain a placeable Void Egg at the start of combat. It hatches into an unspeakable horror and knocks up adjacent enemies. Each Void Star level increases the horror's health and ability power. Okay, so you get different ones. Void Remora, I don't even know who that is, but Rift Herald and Baron Nashor. You get Nash. That'd be pretty cool. You know what's weird? So Baron Nashor, his original name is Roshan, and that's from Dota, and you could kind of see that in the name here. It's like just a respelling of it, but I think people in America call it Baron, and then people in Europe call it Nashor. I wonder what caused that. It's very interesting because like it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's the same thing, and if you say one, everyone will know immediately what you mean. But I've never heard a single American person call it Nashor, and Europeans typically do not say Baron. But whenever I'm with my friends are mostly Americans, we just say Baron. So, but whenever I watch LCS before, people say Nashor. Very interesting. Cho'Gath, Malzahar, Kassadin, Rek'Sai, Vel'Koz, Kai'Sa, and Bel'Veth are going to be the Void unit. Oh, Void used to be like a small trait. It used to be like a 3-person trait. But now it's like a big trait. So this reminds me of Cultist. Cultist could be pretty cool, but it's done in a different way. Wander spells change depending on the region portals players voted for at the start of the game. So Rise just has like different abilities based on the portal, so this definitely gives set 2 vibes. You may have been wondering who even cares about the region names. Well, this is why the region name matters. Yordle, gain 10% attack speed per star level. Yordles can become 4-star, gaining a wacky spell upgrade. If you have 3 3-star champions, your strongest 3-star Yordle champion becomes a 4-star. So, yeah. Can you get a 4-star Heimerdinger? I don't know. At 5 Yordles, 2 3-star Yordle champions can now become a 4-star. Wow. 4-star Heimerdinger. Well, this will be a world first, whoever gets it. But it's going to be really hard to get. Even if you like make your own game, it's going to be hard to do. Ties and items are broken by the Yordle fielded most recently. Zon champions create random chem mods that only they can use. Champions can be modded once, and mods can only be removed by selling the champion. So you could gain 1, 2, or 3 chem mods, and you could also overcharge your mods at 6 Zon. So I guess if you're forcing something, like since they can't be removed, you kind of have to keep it on them. But that's going to be Jinx, Warwick, Echo, Urgot, and Zeri. And that's going to be it for the traits. What's your favorite traits so far? But onto the champions. So champions are always the most interesting, obviously, because that's really what the game kind of revolves around. We kind of just play more around the champions and the traits. Like, we may remember the traits, but the champions are always like first in my mind. But let's start off with number 1. That's going to be Cassiopeia. This is just going to be by cost alphabetically, I believe. But Noxian, Shuriman, and Invoker. I didn't know she was both of these, but it makes sense now that I think about it. Deal magic damage to the current target and wound them for 5 seconds. If they are already wounded, deal bonus magic damage. And that's really good for focusing targets and making sure that they die. So she might be like the unit you use where, like, in the early game, you want to just lose streak gracefully, kill off like a bunch of units, only lose by 1 unit. She might be good for that because she'll deal bonus damage to like her current target. Cho'Gath, Void, and Bruiser. His ability is Feast. Deal magic damage to the lowest adjacent health enemy. If this kills them, devour them permanently and gain max health. Probably really good for re-rolling because you just want a giant Cho'Gath. Oh, there's no threat trait in this set. Interesting. So maybe they bring him back for set 10 because I know that they liked it. Aurelia, Ionia, and Challenger. Defiant Dance. Enter a defensive stance and gain a shield that rapidly decays over 3 seconds. When it breaks, deal magic damage plus 30% of the damage absorbed to enemies around and in front of Aurelia. Ionia bonus plus 25 armor and MR. Jin, Ionia, and Deadeye. Curtain Call. Take aim at the current target and deal physical damage to enemies in a line. Each hit reduces damage by 40%. Ionia bonus for 20% attack damage. So this is the first time Jin is not a 4-cost unit. So they're kind of breaking the lore here. But look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's the 4th alphabetically for the 1 cost. They do this every set. It's like a little Easter egg. But the first time they're breaking it is making him a 1 cost. What if he could turn it into a 4 cost with Yordle? Even more interesting. Are there Yordle emblems that we could kind of use to do that with? We'll see. Kale, 1 cost, Demacia Slayer, Divine Ascent. Same Kale as before. Okay, whatever. It's just like ascends based on her level. Oh, it's actually your level, so it's a little bit different. Malzahar, Void, Sorcerer, Call of the Void. Open 2 portals near the current target, destroy 34% shields, and deal magic damage to all enemies caught between the portals. Ooh, okay. Anti-shield. So if you see a lot of shields, you might want to splash in a Malzahar. Maokai, Shadow Isles, and Bastion, Sap Magic. Whenever an enemy uses their ability, gain 5 mana. Active on Maokai's next attack, heal. Pretty basic, just simple tank. Oriana, Piltover Sorcerer, Command Project. Grant the lowest health ally shield for 4 seconds. When the shield expires, it deals magic damage to adjacent enemies and chills them for 3 seconds. Chilling's reducing attack speed. Oh, it's Command Protect, not Project. Poppy, Yordle, Demacia, and Bastion. Steadfast Hammer. Gain shield for 3 seconds, dealing magic damage to the current target. 4-star upgrade. Knock the target into the largest clump of enemies, dealing 40% of the target's max health magic damage to the target and 25% of that amount to the clump. Stun them for 1.5 seconds. Renekton, Shurima, Bruiser, Cold the Meek. Deal magic damage to the adjacent enemies. Heal for the first enemy hit and another for each additional 1 hit. That one's pretty interesting. Samira, Noxious, and Challenger Flare. Shoot at the current target and deal damage to the first enemy hit. Reduce their armor by X. Tristana, Yordle, Gunner, Rapid Fire. Gain attack speed for 4 seconds. For the duration, attacks explode on impact and deal physical damage to enemies within 1 hex. 4-star upgrade. Every 8th attack deals bonus physical damage and ricochets to the largest clump of enemies, dealing physical damage to enemies within 1 hex. And then Viego is the last 1 cost. Shadow Isles and Rogue. Blade of the Ruined King. Deal magic damage to the current target. For the rest of combat, Viego's attacks deal bonus damage and stacks. So it's kind of like a 2-part ability. Ashe, Freljord, and Deadeye. Her ability is Volley. Fires 8 arrows in a cone, each dealing physical damage to the first enemy hit and chilling them, so it's pretty decent support. I think this is a reprint of a very old Ashe. Galio, Demacia, Invoker. Shield of Durand. Reduce damage taken by 30% and heal for 4 seconds. After that, deal magic damage to adjacent enemies. Jinx, Zon, Gunner, Fishbones. Fires 5 rockets at random enemies within 2 hexes of the current target. Each rocket deals physical damage. So Jinx is just pure damage now. Added 2 costs, I wonder how that's going to do. Because 2 cost Jinx with the stun, very strong. With damage, you kind of have to re-roll it. Kassadin, Void, Bastion, Force Pulse. Gain a shield for 4 seconds. Deal magic damage to enemies in a cone and disarm them for a bunch of seconds. And disarm just means they can't move, but they can cast spells. Kled, Noxious, Yordle, Slayer, Skarl. Passive is start combat with a shield. When it breaks, dismount and gain stacking attack speed for the rest of combat. Active, remount and gain shield. 4-star upgrade is execute enemies under 20% health. Oh, that's the Yordle bonus. That's pretty cool. Set is the next one. Ionia, Juggernaut, Facebreaker. And obviously Yordle is probably going to be a reroll comp. If you want to force Yordles with Lee Sin, it's probably the way to go. But Set, pull in an enemy on either side and slam them together, dealing magic damage and stunning them for 2, 2.2, and 2.5 seconds. If only 1 enemy is grabbed, the damage and stun duration are increased by 50%. Ionia bonus is 150 max health. So Soraka, Targan, Invoker, Astral Infusion. The lowest health ally is healed, and if the ally is below 50% health, increase the healing amount by 50%. Oh, we haven't had too many healers like this in TFT. That's clutch. That's really clutch. The ally is infused for 5 seconds, calling down 5 stars over the duration that deal magic damage to the closest enemy. Next up is Swain, 2 cost, Noxious, Strategist, and Sorcerer. His ability is Demon Flare. Sorcerer, okay, so that's just a lot of AP with this guy. Transform and gain max health for 8 seconds. While transform, deal magic damage to enemies within 2 hexes every second. Maybe you drop a Morello on Swain. I will be coming out with an item guide when the set comes out, so definitely keep an eye out on that in case you want to know what to build on what. Talia, Shurima, Multicaster, Seismic Shove. Passive is whenever an enemy is knocked up by anything, throw a boulder at them, which deals magic damage. The active ability is knock up the current target for 2 seconds. Teemo, Yordle, Strategist, Multicaster. Noxious Trap is the ability. Hurl an explosive mushroom at the current target. When it detonates, enemies within 1 hex are wounded and take magic damage over 3 seconds. And since he's a multicaster, you just get a lot of traps, right? And then the 4-star upgrade is, wow. This is huge. Increase the explosion radius by 1 hex. That's that's a lot because it's like in a circle, right? So you, instead of hitting like, what is it? 6 squares, you hit like a lot. I don't know what the math is. You could look at it on a map if you go to teamfight.lol on the team builder. We could do it right now. So before it hits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes, but if it's expanded by 1 square, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hexes. Wow, that is, wow, a lot. It's pretty much like the whole map. But onto Vi, Piltover Bruiser. Vi is just always a 2 cost. Why is that? Blast Shield. Gain a shield for 4 seconds. Deal physical damage to enemies within 1 hex of the current target and sunder them for 4 seconds. Warwick, Zon, Juggernaut, and Challenger. Warwick was a Challenger at 2 cost before as well, I believe. Primal Howl. Warwick's attacks restore health. And instead of Zon, he was Chemtech or something. Yeah, he was like Chemtech Challenger or something like that, right? Kind of the same thing. Active for the next 2.5 seconds, the passive healing is increased by 50%. After that, stun adjacent enemies for a bunch of seconds. That seems really good for a 2-cost unit. You just get an AoE stun. All right, let's go. Zed, Ionia Rogue Slayer, Living Shadow. Create a shadow at the furthest enemy within 3 hexes. Zed and his shadow slash adjacent enemies dealing physical damage. The Ionia bonus is more crit chance and damage. Akshan, Shurima, Deadeye, Comeuppance. Lock on to the furthest enemy and unleash a hail of 6 shots towards them. Each deals physical damage to the first enemy hit. Darius, Noxious Juggernaut, Noxian Guillotine is the ability. Deal physical damage to the current target. If they die immediately... Oh no. It's literally giving me nightmares from League of Legends. This should be very interesting. It's stacking damage. Or is this reduced damage? I think it's reduced damage. Echo, Zon, Piltover, and Rogue Phase Dive. Heal 34% of damage taken in the last 4 seconds and deal magic damage to the current target. Pretty simple there. He is an assassin, so Frozen Heart Echo, it's removed, but rest in peace. Garen, Demacia, and Juggernaut. Judgment is the ability. Spin a few times every second for the next couple of seconds. Each spin deals physical damage to adjacent enemies. Jace, Piltover, and Gunner. Acceleration Blast. Grant attack speed to Jace and adjacent allies on his left and right for 3 seconds. Fire a blast at the current target, which explodes on the first enemy hit, dealing physical damage to enemies near the blast. So Jace with maybe the Zeke's augments would be really good because you just really buff up your primary carries. I think that'd be kind of interesting to do. Callista, Shadow Isles, and Challenger, Pierce and Rend. Passive, attacks impale a spear in the target, which deals true damage when removed. Callista rips the spears out if it would kill the target. So the active is impale 5 spears in the current target. So you just guarantee a kill on someone with Callista. Karma, Ionia, and Invoker. So this is going to be like permacasting Karma maybe. Inner Flame. Fire a burst of energy at Karma's target that explodes upon impact, dealing magic damage to adjacent enemies. Every third cast launches 3 bursts of energies, and the bonus is 20% AP. Katarina, Noxian, and Rogue. Veracity. Throw 3 daggers at land next to enemies within 2 hexes, then teleport to each to deal magic damage to adjacent enemies and wound them for 6 seconds. I wonder how assassins are going to do if they don't start by jumping to the back. Obviously, they're going to compensate it with changing their stats a little bit. Maybe she doesn't even need Rogue to get to the back. And how would Edge of Night interact with assassins or with rogues? They would proc too early, right? Or I forget the percentage Edge of Night is at. It's either 60 or 40. Lysandra, Freljord, and Invoker, Frozen Tomb, stun the current target for 2 seconds and deal magic damage to enemies within 2 hexes of them. They take 10% more damage for the next 4 seconds. Great support unit. This is probably one of the best. With Freljord, I think Freljord's great for supporting too. Lysandra just might be great splash, you know. Rek'Sai, Void, Bruiser, Furious Bite. Deal physical damage to the current target if they are below 60% health. This damage is converted to true damage and increased by a certain amount. And if this kills a target, rip through them and heal health as well. So kind of like a reset. There are a couple of reset champions in this set, so maybe like Thrill the Hunt, if it still exists, would be really nice. Or Axiomark. Sona, Demacia, Multicaster, Crescendo, send a wave of sound at the largest clump of enemies and deal magic damage to enemies hit. Allies hit by the wave gain 25, 30, and 40% attack speed for 5 seconds. Taric, Targan, Bastion, and Sorcerer. Taric's a sorcerer? I did not know that. Radiance. Gain a shield for 6 seconds. It absorbs damage received by adjacent allies. Oh, so it's kind of like the Shen that we saw recently. Vel'Koz, the last 3 cost unit. Void, Multicaster, Sorcerer, ability is Plasma Fission. Fire a Plasma Bolt towards the current target that deals damage to the first enemy hit. It then splits into 2, dealing 50% less damage whenever it passes through an enemy. So it's kind of like the geometry that we like from Vel'Koz. And he's a 3-cost unit. Look at that. I think this should be really cool. Both Multicaster and Sorcerer, I think that's like one of the only ones, right? We'll check later. Vel'Koz reroll probably should be pretty scary. Now onto the 4-costs. So 4-costs are always the most interesting because these are like your primary carries, primary tanks in most cases. But starting with Aphelios, Targan, and Deadeye, Moonlight Vigil. Fire a Moonblast at the largest group of enemies that deals physical damage to enemies within 2 hexes. Equip 4 Chakram, plus 1 more for each enemy hit by the Moonblast. And then for 7 seconds, attack steal bonus physical damage for each Chakram equipped. And then based on the damage dealt, Chakrams heal Aphelios. Now onto Azir, Shurima, and Strategist. Yeah, Azir, he is pretty strategy-wise or whatever. His ability is Arise. Passive, after every 3rd attack from Azir, a Sand Soldier deals magic damage to their target. Active is summon a Sand Soldier to attack your target. If Azir already has 3 soldiers, they immediately deal magic damage instead. So he's definitely like kind of stally, pretty interesting. Matches with this theme from like other games. Gwen, Shadow Owls, and Slayer, Snip Snip. Dash around the current target and snip 3 times in a cone, dealing magic damage to each enemy hit. Every 3 casts, gain 150, 150, 300 armor and MR for a couple of seconds. Seems like Gwen should be kind of like a legendary. It does like damage and like tankiness. I wonder how that would work. With Slayer is pretty interesting because like you deal more damage to like lower health targets and stuff too. So again, clutch fights to be seen. Jarvan 4, Demacia, and Strategist. His ability is Cataclysm. Mightily leap on an enemy, deal magic damage to enemies within 2 hexes and stun them. Ooh, so he's a magic damage dealer. Interesting. Kaisa, Void, and Challenger, Icathian Rain. Dash away from all enemies and then fire missiles split across 4 nearest enemies. Each missile deals magic damage. Okay, so it's kind of like Dashy Kaisa that we saw from the past. Hopefully she doesn't dash into your enemies, and dashes smartly. Lux, Demacia, and Sorcerer, Torrent of Light. Channel a barrage of light at the current target that deals magic damage over a couple of seconds, reducing their magic resistance every second, and if they die, shift to a new target. So it's kind of like a support-ish type of unit, or a unit that just kind of like has the magic resist built into themselves, so maybe you don't need the Ionic Spark or the Static Shiv in this type of build. Nasus, Shurima, Juggernaut, and his ability is Soul Eater, steals max health, attack damage, and defenses from the nearest enemies for 8 seconds. While empowered, every 3rd attack deals physical damage. I really like this a lot. Wow. Do you even need items on your Nasus? Like, what do you want to build on him? You already get health and resistances. So what do you build? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just a support unit. Sejuani, Freljord, and Bruiser, Fury of the North. Whenever an ally attacks a chilled enemy, they deal bonus. Ooh, I like that. Is this chill from anyone or only chill from Sejuani? Probably chill from anyone because it's like a status effect. So if you just do a full chill team, could be pretty interesting, like Ashe, Sejuani, plus other stuff. Gain a shield for 4 seconds, deal magic damage to nearby enemies, and chill them for 4 seconds. Shen is the next one, Ionia, Bastion, and Invoker. Key Barrier, or Kai Barrier, not sure how to say it. Gain a shield and grant shield to 2 lowest health allies for 4 seconds. After shielding his allies, Shen's shield refreshes with a burst, dealing magic damage to adjacent enemies, and the Ionia bonus is 10% magic reduction. Urgot is Zon and Deadeye. His ability is Disdain. Whenever an enemy enters attack range, fire a blast from the leg facing that direction. How many legs does Urgot have? Dealing physical damage to them. Each of Urgot's, 6 legs, has a cooldown. And then the active ability is gain a shield for 5 seconds and dash behind the current target, reset all leg cooldowns. Yasuo, Ionia, Challenger, Last Breath is the ability. Send a whirlwind to the furthest enemy within 3 hexes. Stun all enemies hit, dash, and slash to the original target, dealing physical damage to them. Slam them into the ground and deal damage to enemies within 1 hex. Very versatile unit. This sounds like a legendary, but it's a 4-cost. Zeri, Zon, and Gunner. Ability is Surge. Passive effect is execute enemies below a certain health. Kills reset the duration of Surge. And then the active ability is for the next 5 seconds, attacks chain lightning to additional enemies dealing physical damage. And then now onto the legendaries. Also, you may have noticed that I kind of like have weird things such as like execute enemies below like XYZ health or whatever. That's just because like we don't really know the numbers yet. So I tried to like delete as many numbers as I could, but I also left some of them in so you know that like this isn't like a billion seconds as some sort of frame of reference, because all these stats are going to change as like the game gets balanced. Aatrox, Darken Slayer, and Juggernaut, World Ender. Transform for 10 seconds, gaining Omnivamp and converting all bonus attack speed to attack damage, while transformed attacks deal physical damage. Wow, that sounds very powerful. And remember the Darken trait, very interesting from before. Ari, Ionia, and Sorcerer ability is Essence Theft. Steal essence from enemies around her target, dealing magic damage and 35% mana reaving them. Every cast instead unleashes a wave that deals magic damage to all enemies hit. This deals 33% more damage to enemies whose essence has been stolen. Ionia bonus is 2 mana per second. This one does seem like a legendary. Great for supporting, great for dealing damage as well. Belveth, Empress and Void, Royal Maelstrom. Lash out at the lowest health enemy in range, and each lash deals physical damage and 1% of the target's max health as true damage. I think this works really well with the Empress trait. Obviously, only she has it. Heimerdinger, Piltover, Yordle, and Techno Genius. Chex, Lightning Grenade. Does anyone eat Chex cereal? I actually like it a bunch, but I don't eat cereal that often though. Hurl a grenade towards the largest group of enemies, dealing magic damage to them and stunning them. So it's kind of like Fiddlesticks, AoE stun, damage legendaries, and then like 4-star upgrade. This is like the description that I've been seeing, but I don't know what it actually does. They probably want to keep it as a surprise. So I guess if you get it, send me a clip on the Discord. The link's in the description below, so definitely check that out. Cassante, Shamira, Bastion, All-Out Strike. Slam the ground, knocking the current target into the air, then smash them away towards the edge of the battlefield, dealing magic damage and stunning them. And then briefly stun and deal magic damage to enemies that collide with the target while they are being knocked back, or who are adjacent to where the target lands. Cassante, this is an essay. I could like submit this champion description for my 150-word essay due tomorrow. If the target cannot be pushed back any further, they are knocked off the Wow. So it's like Lee Sin from Legendary Lee Sin. If the target is still alive, Cassante will chase after them. Ooh, that's pretty cool. If there's ever a Giga Tank, you could just Cassante them. It's an interesting tech. Rise, there are like 50 billion rises because it changes based on the map. Let's get through as many of them as... you know what? Let's do Senna and Scion first, and then we'll get into Rise. Senna, Shadow Owls, Gunner, and Redeemer, Dawning Shadow, fires a massive beam at the furthest enemy, dealing physical damage to all enemies hit. Any allies hit gain shield for 4 seconds. And then Scion, Noxious, Bruiser, and Glory in Death. His passive is, upon death, reanimate with 100% health, decaying at like a percentage each second. Scion can no longer use his abilities, but is immune to crowd control and gains attack speed. His active ability while he's alive is charge towards the most enemy within a certain amount of hexes, dealing damage to them along the way and stunning them for a bunch of seconds. So great legendary tank, probably splashable in like tons of teams. But now onto Rise. So I'm guessing a lot of them are the same, but let's see. So in Bandle City, Rise creates a portal to Bandle City underneath a random unit on your bench. After a brief delay, they arrive on the battlefield with bonus mana and are slightly smaller. So Demacia, create a portal and a cluster of injured allies. Create a portal underneath a cluster of injured allies, granting them shields, and if an ally leaves the safety of the portal, they are healed for a bunch of health. When the portal expires, enemies within are dealt magic damage. For Freljord, Rise creates a portal to the Freljord underneath a random group of enemies, and they freeze them and deals magic damage to them, and applies Permafrost, which is a permanent attack speed slow. Does this also mean they are chilled for the bonus damage effect from Sejuani? Would be good to know. Realm Warp Ionia. Rise creates a portal to Ionia, summoning forth a spirit tree that affects the closest units. Allies are invigorated, gaining attack speed, and restoring health over the duration. Enemies are pacified, causing them to dance for a couple of seconds. Noxious Realm Warp. He creates a portal to the Noxious Armory that spews out a torrent of weapons and armor, granting completed items to random allies with open slots and throwing axes to random enemies that deal damage each. If an ally would receive an item while all slots are full, they instead gain a stacking damage increase for the rest of combat. Very interesting. This seems pretty powerful. Piltover summons a portal to Piltover that launches out an Enforcer grenade towards its target, dealing magic damage to enemies within 2 hexes and create a containment area for a couple of seconds. Enemies are unable to leave the area, and the damage dealt to them is also dealt to other enemies within. So this is probably great for AoE. Wow, that would be very interesting. Maybe do like an AoE nuke comp, and then if it's Piltover, drop in the Rise, GG. Shadow Isles. Rise creates a portal to Shadow Isles, reclaiming lost ally souls. They return to the battlefield with a percent of their max health. If no allies have died yet, the portal remains open, waiting for an ally to die. Rise cannot resurrect himself. You know, Jesus can only do so much, right? Shurima. Rise creates a portal to Shurima, summoning a gigantic sand tornado that travels across the battlefield, dealing magic damage to enemies hit and knocking them up briefly. The tornado has a chance to unearth buried treasures and gold as it travels. So that's like the econ one. I guess it makes sense. Shurima's like Bard, right? At least I think Bard's from Shurima. Realmwort Targon. Rise creates a portal to the skies above Mount Targon that beckons his target. After a few seconds, they descend from the heavens as a meteor towards the largest cluster of enemies, dealing a percent of the target's max health as magic damage and knocking enemies up in the epicenter. So Zon, this is the last one, opens a portal to Zon, causing hired guns to fire stuff at nearby enemies that deal magic damage. The more gold you have, the more powerful the portals become. Okay. So you could do like a bolt, an axe, a rocket, and then like even more depending on your gold. I'm assuming these are gold thresholds, but very nuts. Wow. That's gonna... I just play Rise, who cares, right? He fits in every comp. He's like a threat unit, so no matter what, just run him. I'm sure there's like a thing you could check his ability on in-game. Augments have been revamped, so like 90% of them are changed. So if there's an old one, or if it's a legend one that we already went over, I'll skip over them. But yeah, 90% of the augments are changed, which I like a lot because we've been playing with the same ones for so dang long. It's about time, you know? That's all I can say. So, all natural 1. Your units with no items equipped gain 75 health and heal for 3% of their max health each second. That's kind of like makeshift armor, right? Army building, gain a lesser duplicator. This happens a second time after 8-player combat, so amazing for reroll, holy cow. Bastion heart, you get 1 more bastion and a Cassie. Blood money, gain 1 gold per 3 health your tactician loses. Great for lose streaking. Bronze ticket, every golden ticket, bronze ticket. That's funny. Every 5 shop refreshes, gain a free refresh. I guess it's doable. Bruiser heart, your team counts as having 1 additional bruiser, gain a Vi. Challenger heart, +1 challenger Warwick. Component buffet, whenever you would get a random component, instead gain a component anvil. So I had an 8th grade teacher. He said buffet instead of buffet. I don't know if he was just messing with us to see if anyone would like challenge him, but he only said buffet. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure it's buffet, right? Cybernetic bulk, your champions holding an item gain 200 health. So it's just cybernetic. Leech, they gain health and omnivamp. So they're just switching it up a little bit. Deadeye heart, Demacia heart, +1 of the trade, Ash Kale, Gunner heart, +1 Gunner Jinx. Harmasis. Okay, I thought that was Pharmacist, but your units heal 10% of the damage they deal, and they convert 50% of excess healing to magic damage on their next attack. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, the slight healing, and then you get damage instead of the shield. So instead of Celestial Blessing, it's definitely switched up. Healing orbs, when an enemy dies, the nearest ally is healed for 300. Definitely changed up from Thrill the Hunt. So this is, whenever I said Thrill the Hunt before, healing orbs is what it is now. So just remember that. Invoker heart, +1 Invoker, Soraka, Ionia heart, +1 Ionia, gain a set. Iron assets, gain a component anvil and 2 gold. Is that good? I'd rather have item grab bag for sure. Jackpot, after you refresh your shop 40 times, gain a copy of each. What? Okay, how do you get to 40? Okay, so that's 80 gold. So you just need 80 gold to do this. And each round you get a free refresh, right? Okay, that seems pretty easy to hit. Okay, I wonder when this can show up, because some of these don't show up at all stages. Juggernaut heart, your team, +1 Juggernaut and a set. Long distance pals. What do you guys think about long distance? I think for pals it's fine. For relationships, a lot harder. I don't see many of them succeed. I'm almost 30 now. I'm going to turn 30 like sometime next week. I'm not saying that long distance never works, but the odds are not in their favor in like for like my friends of friends, things like that. Okay, well, why am I even bringing this up? At the start of combat, your 2 furthest champions share 20% of their armor, MR, and attack speed and AP with each other. Missed connections, gain a copy of each tier 1 champion. Oh, that's pretty interesting. This is definitely going to be only available on like stage 4 or something, right? Because wow. Yeah, sometimes you're rolling forever, you're level 8 already, and you can't find that 1-cost champion that you really want. And now you can get it. Noxious Heart, your team counts as having 1 additional Noxus, gain a Swain. On a roll, whenever you 2-star a unit, gain a free reroll. I don't really think this one's that's good. 125, gain a component, 2 gold, and 1 random tier 5 champ. Holy cow. Pandora's Bench, gain 2 gold at the start of every round. Champions on the 3 rightmost bench slots transform into random champions of the same cost. Recombobulator, same thing as before. Red buff, your units' attacks burn their targets for 8% of their max health over 8 seconds and reduce the healing received by 50%. This is probably going to get rid of Sunfire Board. Risky moves. It's also a call out to red buff from set 1, which was pretty cool. Red buff gunslingers, who here remembers. Risky moves, your tactician loses 20... Oh my god. You lose 20 health after 7 player... Wow, this is too risky, because think about it. You take this on stage 2-1, right? You lose 20 health. You're at 80 health. You also lose streak for 7 rounds because you don't have an augment. So 7 times, let's say, like 5 health. That's 35 health. Okay, so you just start the game at 45 health on stage 3-2. You do get 40 gold, but I don't think... That's not worth the risk, man. Rogue Heart, +1, Rogue, gain a Zed. Shadow Owl, +1, gain a Viego and a gold. Shurima Heart, +1, gain a Talia. Silver Spoon, gain 12 XP. Ooh, that's just 12 gold. If we compare this to maybe AFK, Silver Spoon might be better. I kind of like it. Slayer Heart, your team counts as having 1 additional Slayer, gain a Kled. Social Distancing, units that begin combat with no adjacent allies gain AP and AD. So this is like Exiles. Sorcerer Heart, +1 sword, gain a Swain. And then Unburden, your units without items gain 35% attack speed. I like the makeshift type of stuff. I think it's really cool. Unified Resistance, combat start, your units that share a row with at least 2 other units gain 25 armor and MR. And then you can move freely on... Is this good? If you guarantee need an item, I don't know if this is good or not. This probably isn't good. If you compare it to like item grab bag 1, it's just so much worse, right? It's like Pandora's items, actually. Okay, interesting. Zon, +1 Zon, gain a Warwick. Well, this young, wild, and free. Okay, I wish I was. But yeah, that's the silver augments. Pretty like decent changes so far. I think it's going to be same pattern for gold and prismatic. Actually, gold's probably going to be the same. Prismatic's going to be spicy. So a cut above. Gain a Deathblade. Champions with Deathblade have 50% chance to drop. Oh my god, that's pretty cool. Stacking, lots of gold. Adrenaline Rush or Juggernauts deal more damage. Increase to 30% for the rest of combat when they fall below 50% health. Gain 2 Juggernauts. Holy cow. So instead of champion augments, they added these again. They had these before. It's just like specific trait augments that are not +1s, but they do something a little spicier. All natural, just like all the guys at the gym, right? Your units with no items gain 150 health and heal 5% of their max health each second. All that shimmers, gain a shimmer scale item armory that offers 2 options. Shimmer scale items aid gold generation. So that's like a throwback to the dragons. Bastion Crest, Emblem, Bruiser Crest, you get the emblem. Built different, same thing as before. Capricious Forge, gain Blacksmith's Gloves, equips 2 temporary Ornn items on each round. Challenger Crest, same thing. Chemtech enhancements. Your chem modded units gain 500 health. Allies that start combat adjacent to them gain 100 health. Gain 2 Zon units. Okay, so it's just going all in on the modded out units. Yeah, that makes sense. Combat Caster, when one of your units casts their spells, they gain health shield for 3 seconds. So that's going to be really good with multicast, right? You just throw one of your multicasters front row, maybe they tank for you, who knows. Contagion. At the start of each combat, the highest health enemy is afflicted with Contagion, which increases their damage taken by 20%. On death, Contagion spreads to the 2 nearest enemies and they can stack. Okay. I guess you guys socially distance or something, but I think this skips through that. I think it spreads no matter how far you are, at least in this one. What did Riot Games mean by this? It would make more sense if it only spread if they're within like 1 or 2 hexes, but we'll see how it actually works out. Cybernetic Bulk and Leech already went over. Deadeye Crest, you get the emblem. Dedication, first time you field at least 5 distinct units of the same trait in player combat, gain an emblem for that trait. Defensive Dash, combat start on takedown, your challenger units gain a shield for 4 seconds, and you also gain 2 challenger units. Are these just random, or like maybe they haven't decided yet? Demacia Crest, gain a Demacia emblem and a Galio. Demon Flare, gain a Swain. Your strongest Swain deals 3% increased damage per 100 max health. So there are still some champion augments. I wonder if there are special rules for them to show up. Double Trouble, same thing. Dueling Gunners, your Gunners gain 15% AS and more per Gunner stack. Early Education, Your champions permanently gain 1 ability power whenever they kill an enemy. Champions start with 10 bonus AP. This is very similar to the AD one that existed before that we used on like Draven and stuff. Endurance training, champions permanently gain 15 health every time they kill an enemy. Champions start with 100 bonus health. Very interesting too. Escort quest, gain a training dummy each round if it survives combat. Oh, this is spicy. Okay. I'd rather just get 2 target dummies, but this one is pretty interesting too. Freljord Heart, +1 Freljord, gain an Ash, frequent flyer. After you refresh your shop 15 times, your refresh costs 1 for the... Wow. Ooh. Interesting. You can pretty much fast 8 with this. You pretty much get 15 shop refreshes by the time you reach like level 7 or 8 on stage 4, and then you can just all in after that on the 1-cost reroll and just be chilling. Gain a Titan's Resolve. Your Titan's Resolve can stack up to 40 instead of 25. Oh, okay, so it's item... There. Remember how there are hero augments? Now there are item augments. Gifts of the Fallen. Your units gain 6% AD, armor, and MR, and AP. When one of your units dies, all your units gain these stats. Glacial Breeze. When your Freljordian storm strikes, your units are shielded for 35% of their max health and gain 20% attack speed. Gain 2 Freljord units. I feel like the game now is just going to be who can memorize stuff better, because there's just so much in the game right now. A lot of the knowledge-based stuff, you either want to like do no knowledge training or do like infinite knowledge training. One of the two. I think if you are somewhere in the middle, that's like the worst spot to be in. So I think either just play by feel 100% of the time, or just like study up before you even sign up to play a game. Like study for like 20 hours every time a patch comes out and then play. I feel like anything in between is just suboptimal because you have to like learn so much this set. Harm Assist 2, your units heal for 15% of the damage they deal, and they convert 75% of excess healing to magic damage on their next attack. A Haunted Shell. If Shadow Isles is activated, your units gain 8 armor and MR for the rest of combat. Each time an ally dies, gain 2 Shadow Isle units. Healing Orbs, we went over that. Idealism, gain a Hand of Justice. Champions with a Hodge deal 25... Whoa! Okay, this is really powerful. Maybe it should just make both effects active at all times. Is that too powerful? Maybe that's too powerful. Maybe that could be a Prismatic then. I don't know. Impromptu Inventions. Apparently this is a legend one, but I don't remember it. But at the start of combat, components on your champions turn into full items for the rest of combat. Maybe they meant to put it in on someone else, because again, everything's like changing all the time. Indomitable Will. When your units score a takedown, they shed all negative effects and become immune to crowd control for 6 seconds. Infusion, your team restores 15 mana every 5 seconds. Invoker Crest, Ionia Crest, Jeweled Lotus, Juggernaut Crest, Know Your Enemy. After the first enemy dies each round, your units deal 25% increased damage. So if you're snowballing hard, this is really good. Last Stand, same as before. A library card, that's like, I think the Earth one or something like that, right? Long Distance, Magic Wand, gain a needlessly large rod. Your units gain 20% AP. Ooh, very simple. Pretty interesting, though. Mana Burn. Gain a Shroud. Oh my god, why do they do this stuff? All enemies take 2.5% of their max health as true damage each second until they... Okay, it's cool. Like, the effect is cool, but I don't want people shrouding me every game. Martyr, whenever one of your units dies, all allies heal for 15% max health. Match Fixing, after losing your combat, gain 2 gold. Every 5 losses, gain a random component. Wow. Medium End Shopping, champions appear in the first 3 slots of your shop as if you were 1 level higher. Metabolic, Multicaster Heart, not today. Gain an Edge of Night. Allies holding Eon get 35% attack speed. Noxious Crest, Overcharge Mana Front. Your sorcerers gain 30 mana. The first time each sorcerer gets a takedown each combat, they gain 30 mana, gain 2 Sorks. Perfected Repetition. Each time your multicaster units deal damage, they gain AP. Max up to 50% until the end of combat. Petricite Shackles. Your Damashian units deal 15% more damage, increase to 35% against enemies with 100 or more max mana. Gain 3 Damashians. Oh, so I remember they did like a lot of trait-related augments in set 7, I believe. But some of them were like either really bad or really good. It's probably going to be the same. We'll see how it actually gets balanced, because maybe they just do perfect balancing and then like we don't have to worry about any of that. But some of these, like, I'm reading the effects and it's hard to judge because we don't know how the fights are playing out quite yet. But the way I'm reading them is that they're either going to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. Piltover Heart, +1 Piltover, gain a vibe. Portable Forge, Pump Up. Went over those already. Rapid Incubation. Your Void units gain 20 armor and MR, and your Void Egg hatches at the start of combat. Whoa. That's really powerful, especially if it's like a tank or something. Ravenous Hunter, gain a Warwick. Strongest Warwick takes or deals damage. He gains AD and AP, armor, MR, stacking up to 25 times. So just Titans build like 50 Titans resolves on him. Return on investment, after you have refresh your shop 25 times, gain attack. Ooh. You know, they've been trying to popularize tack when it came out. They're like, call it tack. This is the first time I've called it tack. Rich Get Richer Plus, gain 20 gold, max interest increase to 70. You only get this on stage 3. Rift Walk, before casting, your strongest casted gains 20 AP and blinks to the furthest enemy within 3 hexes, but his spell no longer disarms or shields. His mana cost is reduced by 30, so he just turns him into a nuke machine. Rogue Crest, Salvage Bin, Scope Weapon, Sentinel Spirit. While in Spirit form, your Ionian units gain 40% attack speed and shield themselves for 20% of max health. Gain 3 Ionians. Shadow Isle Crest. Gain a Shadow Isle emblem, a Malachite, and 3 gold. Shimmering Inventors. Your Piltover units gain 5% AS for every 10 gold you have, and have a 40% chance to drop 1 gold at combat start. That seems very cool, very cool. I wonder which legend this is going to be best with. Shoplifting, after your first shop refresh each turn, gain the highest cost champion for free. I like this a lot because, not because I support shoplifting, but I always wondered what would happen if you just rolled once every round, not from Trade Sector, but actually spent the gold to do it. Actually, isn't this just like a much better version of Trade Sector? You get so much gold. Okay, Trade Sector is just complete garbage then, right? Compared to shoplifting, which is fair because Trade Sector is a legend one, right? So it is fair. Theoretically, but this one seems a lot better. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Shurima Crest, gain a Shurima emblem and a Talia. Shurima Legacy, once assembled, your Sun Disc attack enemies for a bunch of magic damage every 2 seconds based on the stage. Silver Ticket, each time your shop is refreshed, you have a 30% chance to gain a free refresh. Slayer's Crest, gain a silver emblem and a Kled. Slayer's Resolve, when your Slayer units take or deal damage, they gain 2 armor MR for the rest of combat, stacking up to 25 times. Sleight of Hand, gain a Thieves' Gloves. Your allies holding TG gain 30% attack speed. Social Distancing, Sword Crest, Spoils of War, Stars Are Born. Stellacorn's Blessing. Whenever you have Targon trait activated, your units gain 30% attack speed for 4 seconds after being healed or shielded. Gain 2 Targonians. What is Stellacorn? I've never heard of that before. Strategist Heart, Suppressing Fire. The targets of your Deadeye unit's shared attack is stunned for 2 seconds. Whoa, very interesting. You get a guaranteed stun on the backliner. This should be pretty good, right? It's essentially Zephyring delayed, but it happens to a lot of different units. Tactical Superiority. Your units gain 6% attack damage and AP for each of their traits that you have activated, doubled when you field a strategist. Targon's Heart, the boss. The first time your strongest set falls below 40%, he takes a break to do sit-ups. Each sit-up heals him for 15% max health and grants him 20% attack speed. 3's a Crowd. Your units gain 75 health for each 3 costs you field. Oh, so that's like a different take on Triforce, I believe. 3's Company, Titanic Strength. Bruisers gain increased attack damage equal to 1.5 of their max health. Gain 2 bruisers. Tons of stats. Your team just gains a tons of... Okay, that makes sense. Total Domination. Attacks and abilities of your Noxious units execute enemies below 6% of their max health. Increased by 2% of each player you've conquered. Trade Sector, Transfusion, 2 healthy. Your units gain 60 health for each 2 cost units you field. Rerolling. Hello. Unburdened, your units without items equipped gain 55% AS. Unstable Yordle Delivery, gain a random Yordle or 1.5 gold every round. Vampiric Blades, your team gains 10% Omnivamp, your rogue units gain 25% instead. Void Heart, your team counts as having 1 additional Void, gain a Cassidon. Winds of War, gain a Galio. Your strongest Galio spell is larger and enemies take magic damage equal to 8% of their max health. You have my bow, gain a recurve bow. Your units gain 20% AS. Gain a BF sword. Your units gain 20% AD. And then Zoncrest, you just get a Warwick. Oh, one thing I forgot to note with augments, because we went over so many of them, is that you can refresh individual augments now. You no longer have to refresh your entire, like, all 3 augment choices, which reduces the RNG by a lot. So I think, like, knowledge is super important in this set. Prismatic Augments. Okay, now time to get into the fun part. And I think this is the last section that we have. So thanks for staying along so far. If you guys enjoyed this so far, the rundown, definitely give me a subscription down below because I'll be releasing a ton of Set 8 content. Tier lists every Friday as per usual. Been doing it for 3 years. Augment guides every patch. Legends guides, and beginner's guides in case you all are completely new. But let's move on into the prismatics. So we already went over this one. Bastion Crown, you gain a Sunfire Cape and a Taric and the emblem. Binary Airdrop, that's an old one. Birthday Present old. Blinding Speed, gain a Gwinsu's and a Rapid Fire Cannon. Ooh, super attack speed. Holy cow. You can probably match this up with like a Static Shiv, build it early and just like Giga Smurf. Bruiser Crown, gain a Bruiser emblem, a Warmogs, and a Rek'Sai. Build Diffie 3, Buried Treasures, Challenger Crown, gain a RFC, and wow. Okay, very powerful. Lots of attack speed. Not as much as Blinding Speed, but close enough, right? Cruel Pact. Okay, so they're keeping that one in. That one is one of the more interesting prismatics, so I'm glad that they kept that. Cybernetic Bulk, Leech, same thing, but you just get more stats from before. Deadeye Crown, you get a Gwinsu's and an emblem, and an Akshan. Demacia, Gargoyle Stoneplate Garen, Double Triple 3. Endless Horde, your team size equal to half your level. Your units can only hold one item, gain 2 gold. Gain team size. Oh, so you just get a ton of units. Endless Horde Plus, it's the same thing, but you get 12 gold. I think only holding one item is fine. That sounds really cool. I wonder what comps would actually work well with that, though. We'll definitely have to see. Maybe the one that summons the Void unit, because maybe the Void unit is the carry. I don't know. Well, it makes sense, because the Endless Horde of Void stuff spawning from like the portal, that seems like a movie or something like that. Final Reserves. Oh, that was a Warcraft movie. Horrible movie, but it was Warcraft, so I watched it. The first time you would be eliminated or reduced to 1 health, instead remain alive. After this effect triggers, wow, 80 XP is a lot. Freljord Soul, your team counts as having 1 additional Freljord, gain an Archangel Staff and a Lysandra. Interesting. So they're not having a lot of souls that give half a component or like 1 component. All of them give items so far, but it might be subject to change, you know. Gifts from above. At the start of combat, your champion with the least items equips 5 temper. Okay, that is nuts. I want to do this. Oh my god. This with Endless Horde and a full prismatic lobby, that'd be insane. Golden Ticket, same thing. Gunner Crown, gain a Runons and a Jace. Harm Assist 3, same thing. Hedge Fund. Hedge Fund Plus, this is the one that appears in Stage 3. This is the one that appears in Stage 4. High-End Sector, Impenetrable Bulwark, gain a Bramble Vest and a D-Claw. Wow. So the 2 specific items is much better than the item grab bag too. Invoker Crown, Rabadons and Karma, Ionia Crown, Ionic Spark and Karma. Wow. Okay, these 2 seem really powerful because, like, especially this one, because you're always going to build Spark. Hat is kind of like bonus, but Spark you're probably always going to build in Ionia comp. Jeweled Lotus 3, Juggernaut Crown, gain a Titan's Resolve and a Darius. Lucky Forge, Lucky Gloves, March of Progress, same thing as before. Multicaster Soul. Gain a Jeweled Gauntlet and a Vel'Koz. Oh, you can't put Multicaster Hat on people? That's really unfortunate. Noxious Crown, gain a Noxious Emblem, IE, and a Darius. Overwhelming Force, gain a Deathblade and IE. Super AD, holy cow. Where's my Last Whisper Love, though? Pandora's Box, Parting Gifts. When a unit dies, they pass a temporary copy to one of their items to their nearest ally with open slots and shields them for 35% of their max health. That is pretty nuts. That's a lot of items. It's like binary airdrop, but a little different. Maybe you do this with like backliners that don't have items. No, that seems kind of weird now. I don't know. Freaky Friday. Gain an IE after 7-player combats. Okay, that is pretty freaky. You don't want too many IEs. Oh, it's Infinity Force. Oh, that's different. That's the Ornn item. Okay, that's very powerful then. Piltover Soul, your team counts. You want this on both on 1 unit. That's insane. Piltover Soul, your team counts as having 1 additional Piltover. Gain a Zeke's Herald and a Jace. Pumping up 3. Radiant Relic, same thing. Rogue Crown, Hand of Justice, and Cat. Roll the dice. Gain a Radiant TG. Shadow Owl Crown. Get the emblem Shiv and a Callista. Shurima. Emblem. Bloodthirster Akshan. Slayer. Emblem. Deathblade and Kled. Social Distancing. Sword Crown. Emblem. Shojin and Vel'Koz. Spoils of War, Starter Kit, Strategist Soul, gain a Chalice and a Swain, Tactician's Tools, gain 2 Spatulas. Okay, so that's a little bit of a buff from the previous one, which just gave you the Force of Nature. Think Fast, classic. Tiniest Titan, Transfusion 3, Unleash Arcana, gain a Rabadons and a JG. Okay, this one I think is the... I'd rather... It depends what's meta, but this sounds pretty good too. Void Soul, your team counts as having 1 additional Void, gain a Zizirot and a Rek'Sai, very thematic. If this is, okay, Zizirot, they have to be careful because this might be the best stage 2 augment. Wandering Trainer, gain a target dummy, it has 3 random emblems. Alright, this is probably my favorite one. Isn't this one really good? You get 3 emblems. I know you can't put it on anyone, You just get +3 traits. That seems very powerful. Wellness Trust. Round start, gain 3 gold. If you have at least 50 gold, your technician heals 3. Okay, this one, I don't know. How much is 3 gold per round worth? Compare that to like Windfall, you know? That's really hard. What the Forge? All completed items you own or receive are reforged into random Ornn artifacts. Units gain 100 health per artifact equipped. No way. That is... What the Forge? Okay, this... I keep saying something else is the best augment. This is the best augment. You get so many... Wow. Imagine it's a huge loot one, and then you just get this, and you get like 50 billion Ornn. It's insane. Zon Crown. Gain a Zon emblem, Guard Breaker, and an Echo. Wow. Okay, these prismatics, I told you they'd be spicy. They definitely delivered, and I'm all down for changing up the augments because I was getting sick of them. But all this info is on the website, bunnymuffins.lol/set9, if you want to read this on your own. But like, holy cow, so many changes. I don't even know where to begin. I think this, again, this set is going to be the set where you either study nonstop or don't study at all, if you want to climb, that is. Because I think just playing by feel is going to be very beneficial. And then if you look at stats all day, you have to memorize like 50 billion augments and stuff. Like, there are a lot. Am I wrong? Like, I think this is more augments than ever. I didn't actually count every individual one. Maybe it's the same amount and I'm just like smoking something that I shouldn't be. But it feels like that there's so much to pay attention to. I'm gonna be really excited because I want to go all out for this set. I want to be playing like almost every day as much as I can and like try to compete and like get as high as I can. So I'm gonna be hopefully making a ton of content coming out in the next like 3 months for this, and we'll just see what happens because wow. I know I say this a lot. I'm always excited for new sets. A lot of people, they're like doubtful for a lot of new sets. I'm always excited, but this one is like, they changed a lot. Like, I know the set mechanic is like Legends or something, but it's like not as big as like the first time they introduced augments. But there's so much more like customization now because you just get to pick your character kind of. So if you really like a playstyle, and I definitely am like that, you can definitely do that. But you could still flex while still having a choice of like a consistent thing. Like maybe if you want to flex, just pick like the Ornn one, and then you just get a lot of random powerful items or something like that. And you don't have to pick these augments either. You could pick any of the other ones that we just went through, because some of these other ones seem pretty nuts too. Like, wow. Okay, yeah, this set is either great for the pure feel players or the super study players. Anything in between, I think you're like, it's gonna be tough, but we'll see. Maybe I'm just wrong, you know, like that happens too. But let me know what's your favorite trait, favorite synergy, favorite legend, favorite augment, because that's going to be a lot. You could do it either in the comments or in the Discord, and let me know what video ideas you all have as well, because I'm sick of making the same videos every set sometimes, but it's just hard to like make new ones, you know, because there's only so much you can do. But I think with all the new stuff coming out, there's a lot more to do. But hopefully you all enjoyed this rundown. I was going to talk a lot more about this, but this video is so long already. So BunnyMuffins tip of the day, I said I would do that every video. Pretty much just like read up, you know? Like either be the full study or no study. So either like forget this ever happened and just play and do everything by feel, or just like study literally everything you can, because I think that's going to be the best way to like get good at this set. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all later.